Yeah, it's just a different angle, right? It's something you don't hear too often, right? It's not the greatest thing, but sometimes it's a wild card for me. So, hey, Laura, how are you doing? And Martin, I saw you were in there too. And also Kane, I don't want to forget you too, buddy. Yeah, so I guess I'll start from the beginning. My grandparents, they immigrated from Portugal. The job they were given was inside a slaughterhouse. My entire family worked in it, in this industry. Apart from my dad, who was a mechanic for several years, but my mom worked on a kill floor. My grandma, grandfather, and so I didn't really like have a lot of ambition growing up as far as school was concerned. And my grandfather always placed an emphasis on me getting a government job. So he immigrated here and he found that working as an inspector is better than working on the kill floor. Um, and it's a government job, you get benefits and stuff like that. And so, he aimed to become a government employee. And so he impressed upon me those ideals. I think the writing was sort of on the wall, and I took on the job at 19. So that's what, like 20 something years ago, a while ago. And yeah, so obviously, I kind of grew up with it like many other people. You think you got to work in it, or sorry, you think you got to eat animals. So for me, it was more like I had a welfareist mindset going in. Not initially at the beginning. Initially at the beginning, I had no fucking idea what I was doing. I was nervous. I just wanted to impress my grandparents, and like that era, you kind of just didn't show your stripes, so to say, as far as any weakness or anything like that. We got to eat meat. It's part of what we do. So I might as well do it to the best of my ability. I hadn't heard of the word veganism and didn't know about it. So yeah, I worked in it for several years. I worked in slaughterhouses. My job was like a bunch of different roles. So one was animal transport inspector. They used to call it humane transport inspector, but they changed it to animal transport inspector. I wonder why. But yeah, so a number of roles, and I think it was not until sort of my end of my career there where I started to see the light, so to say, and realized I didn't want to be a part of this, no matter the consequences. And yeah, I moved away from it, and that was about 11 years ago. I learned of this word, veganism. I tried it, didn't die, and later on, I learned about animal rights, and now I've dedicated my entire life to it. So yeah.
Wow. So sorry if I missed that, but how long into that job did you say that you kind of realised? Did you say it
Yeah,
was quite a long?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I worked in slaughter for about, I think it was about 6 years, something like that. So I worked at primarily at Maple Lodge Farms. They kill 500,000 chickens a day, 280 birds per minute, 3 birds per second. And that's not when I started, but when I finished up there. So I became very sick on the job. Many workers do. I contracted something called Campylobacter, sort of like Salmonella and E. coli as well. I contracted my second time going back, and I became very ill. I later on developed respiratory problems, and I couldn't work in the facility anymore. And they moved me out into different areas, sort of like processing, so like breaded, you know, body part facilities, I guess you would call them now, and imports, exports, and ultimately ended up years later in this place called Animal Health, where because of my experience working in with cases of cruelty considered by the law, I guess you could say. They decided to put me in this unit that decided if cases were going criminally to court. And so my job was to review all these cases that were put in front of me, the paperwork, the inspector's notes, the dictations of what inspectors saw, the video footage, the pictures. And with that, it kind of triggered me and made me remember some of the things I had witnessed. Um, I gotta say, after my first day working in slaughter, I was a completely changed person. I don't think, if you can't walk into one of those places and see that and not be, a lot of people will double down, say it, sort of say, or they'll do things like say, "Oh, it's no problem," but it is. We know that through some data and stuff like that. PTSD, drug, alcohol abuse, violent crime rates go up, workplace injuries. There's a whole raft of things. There's a couple of people that have written books about it. But yeah, so I realized and saw the things that I did, and it all came crashing. I was having night terrors. I was even jumping out of my bed in the middle of the night, scaring the crap out of my partner. Ultimately, I was dealing with a lot of mental issues and turned to a lot of not such great behavior. And yeah, I knew I couldn't be a part of it. So that was about my 15th year working for the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, the agency that governs our food system in Canada, similar to like the USDA or FSIS in the United States. And I'm not sure if it's the RSPCA that does it in the UK, but I think there's probably another government body that does it
I
here.
think it's the FSA. Yeah,
FSA, correct,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's incredible that you should say that because I did about a year ago. I did 4 weeks inside,
Oh,
and
wow.
the first week was horrendous. It was just like I couldn't believe what was happening to me. I was going to bed and I was closing my eyes and seeing blood everywhere. I don't know if you had
Mhm.
the same, like just red blood splashes. Uh, as the more I went on, the easier it did get. But the same, man. I was waking up in the middle of the night and I was screaming, and the missus was like shaking me. And it's not nothing I've ever experienced before. It's not nothing that
Oh,
I've never. As a kid, you have nightmares and stuff. It's been years since that's happened to me, and it's just strange that you should say the same.
yeah,
What do you think? It's like the absorbing of all the
yeah,
energy.
absolutely. Eh, the first time is the key there, I think. So I've talked to a number of workers, a number of people that have worked in it, similar to yourself or longer. Everyone remembers that first day, that first time, those first few animals that they've been involved with, and they remember it vividly. Sort of like a coping mechanism would be, you know, shutting yourself off, shutting your empathy off, and continuing to do it, you have to just shut yourself off as a human being, as an empathetic person. And so the more that you do it, obviously you're going to lose empathy. And so the scary thing about that is, you might have decent people initially going into that facility. Mostly it is people that are on the fringe, or maybe minorities, or immigrants, or people that just don't have that college or university educated experience, and so they're just looking for work. But what happens is, through time after doing this, you lose empathy and you move more heading towards that psychopathy train kind of thing. And so, as you probably are aware, you kind of lose yourself. I'm a shell of the person that I used to be. I'm not anywhere close to the person that I was that walked into that slaughterhouse that first moment. And when I have these conversations with people, depending on where it goes, I try to stick with the animals. I try to talk about the animals and say, look, because that's the most important thing to me, obviously, probably yourself. But when I see it going sour, or when I see somebody just not connecting with the animals, and I realize that they have worked in these facilities, I ask them about it. I ask them about their first time, what it felt like, how it made them feel, if they've ever seen or witnessed any of this before. Sorry, I got a stuffed up nose here. Um, so they remember that experience. They remember it vividly. They talk about it, and yeah, it's seemingly like when somebody sees Dominion for the first time, that shock factor. When we do that 3-minute movie challenge, people are just like, what am I seeing? This isn't real. This isn't the truth. This can't be happening. And so, yeah, it's an indication of why, like, I'm not saying we should fight all the way for human rights. We have enough people fighting for all the human rights issues, but definitely, I think in the context as a tool, we can speak to, what people will go through that experience.
Yeah, it's strange, mate, because everyone I met inside there, I expected a lot. I expected a different reaction from people, and I'll give you an example. I kept slipping stuff out, to people like, oh, could you kill the cows yourself? Because we was only cleaning up, you see.
Yeah,
And one bloke, and he's a lovely bloke, like I really got on with him. And he said, yeah, he said, why couldn't you kill him? And I just played along. I said, oh, it's just, I don't know. They're like, there could be a pet, couldn't there? It's the same thing. It could be a dog. It don't matter what it is. You're ending a life. And he was like, he just laughed. He was like, oh, as though I was talking about, um, cutting down leaves off a tree or something. Do you know what I mean? Or
yeah,
something like that. That was the reaction I got. And I found a lot of people inside there. They they like to talk about it without me even saying anything. I don't know if you got
right,
the same, but
yeah,
there was a lot of like people kind of defending their position without me saying a word, and it's
yeah,
almost like it plays on their mind. There was a woman called Lorraine, and she started saying, this girl applied for a job, and it was too gory, and she said, oh, what do you expect? It's a slaughterhouse, and then she carried on talking to herself, saying, oh, they've got to die somehow. We've got to kill them some way or another. And she carried on talking, and I didn't say a word, and it was almost like because I was new, she was trying to kind of justify and defend what she was doing. I don't know if you've experienced anything like that.
yeah. It's interesting you say that because I feel like, obviously, you got to think if you're going to concede that what you're doing is wrong, then you're gonna have to say that you're pretty much a monster for doing what you're doing, right? If you're gonna concede in any way or fashion, so you're like your first emotion when you see an animal being kicked is, "Oh my god, I gotta stop that," right? Inside a slaughterhouse, somehow you have to justify it. So I think for sure people are gonna do that. And it's interesting you say that because I've talked to workers outside. Now, when I was working in it, I didn't necessarily have that happen. Like I just saw, like, how people reacted in their emotions, and, um, it just they look dead inside, to be honest. I don't know how to describe it. The energy level is low, there's blood all over them, there's shit, it smells, they go out for a cigarette or whatever, and that's it. They're just a shell, like, they're a walking zombie, more or less. But it's interesting you said because 'cause I've talked to workers outside of some of these facilities, and they'll say similar things, like you said, when you're walking away, they gotta die anyway, they have to go anyway. Like, what's your problem? What they gotta be killed anyway. Somebody's gotta do it. What are you gonna do? Just let them all live kind of thing? Yeah.
Mm,
It's
yeah,
interesting you say that.
it was, mate. Yeah, and there was a couple of things she said as well that of a similar situation. And you start to think that it must be on their mind. It must be somewhere, even if
Yeah.
it's not at the forefront. It must be somewhere hidden for them to speak like that. But you mentioned earlier, David, the illnesses you got. And now this is strange because I remember uh, getting a sore throat from the chemicals. I think it was,
Yeah.
and I spoke to someone in there, and they said, yeah, someone had it really bad. He reacted badly. I can't remember what he got from what the condition was, but he ended up in hospital for 2 weeks.
What
So it's
what kind
obviously
of sorry to interrupt. What kind of facility was it? Which animals did they
it was a
murder?
cow facility, and I don't know. Obviously, you probably know more than me, but what is it about? Obviously, it's a common thing. What is it about the abattoirs that give off
Yes.
these illnesses?
So Yeah, so it's a great question. So most workers will contract a pathogen. So whether it be one of the typical ones would be E. coli. If you're working with cows, you could develop tuberculosis working with cows. Salmonella, very common. E. coli. So sorry, Listeria and Campylobacter is another one. So these are the most common pathogens that you'll contract. Most workers will contract. I would say it's like 70, 80%. Some workers react differently though. So there's possibility that you contracted it, but you might not even know it. There could be an incubation period. You could have just, felt ill for one night. For me, I went home. I was throwing up while going out the other end, and I fainted. I had to go to the hospital for 2 weeks. And then about a month later, I developed a pulmonary embolism, so a blood clot in my lung. This was after me being like very healthy, playing sports, working out like twice a day, playing hockey. And so, yeah, I a lot of workers will develop illnesses, problem with their kidneys, and then you got to think of all the diseases, and then not to mention, like you mentioned, the chemicals that you're working with, the blood, the guts, the ammonia, even the lighting and the sound. Like there's just a whole variety of things that workers are confronted with.
You might be able to answer me this, David. At the time I remember 'cause I've always had a tooth problem at the back, um, and every now and then it draws blood, but I didn't have any blood for months and months and months. But I noticed at the time, this was like a year ago now, and I was drawing blood in my mouth. Now I don't know if that is a thing, but it could be a coincidence that just at that time I was tasting blood. Is that a thing in there, despite wearing a mask?
I wore masks, okay, and I protected myself as best as I could, and I still developed Campylobacter, I think twice, and E. coli once. So I think no matter what precautions or what protections you did, there's a very good chance, and I don't think it would be by coincidence. I'd
Mm.
imagine you contracted something, you just don't know what it is. And so, what I would do potentially is I would go seek a professional and say, "Look, I worked in an abattoir or a hellhole, whatever you want to call it." And I started having these symptoms. Apparently, if you're working in these places, you can get really, really ill, and maybe something worth checking out. Yeah,
Wow. So
yeah,
this is a side of it that you don't hear about. You know what I mean? You hear of the cruelty, the blood, the guts, the suffering, the energy, but something I've never come across is illness, especially to the workers who you'd assume were safe. Do you know what I mean? And I've always
yeah,
said to people, I've always said, even if an apple was produced in a slaughterhouse, it's that filthy. I still wouldn't eat it. Do you know what I mean? Let alone eating the product of a living being that went through that process. But it must have been tough, mate, growing up and being pretty much thrown into it. You said your mom was an ex-worker,
yeah,
so obviously you didn't know any different. I think for like the 99%, it would be a shock to the system. But at what point did you start to question it in that 6 years? Like you said, I know you said on the first day you were a different
yeah.
person, but did it kind of creep up over the 6 years, or was there a specific time when you realised that it was messed up?
Yeah, I think I always knew internally it was messed up. I just thought, okay, I'm going to try to do the best in the situation. After that 6 years, I didn't work in slaughter. I worked in other facets. It wasn't until my last year, which was year 15. So I was removed from the slaughterhouses for probably about 6, 7 years, maybe more. It wasn't until I worked in animal health, so year 15, that I started seeing these videos and pictures, and it all came crashing back to me. So that's sort of when I had a moment to say to my partner at the time, like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be a part of this anymore. And I still haven't shared some of the things I've seen to anybody because it's just so horrific that humans can actually do this to animals and that nothing is done about it. When I worked in there were thousands of cases, filing cabinets full of cases that the government that would consider normally would probably consider abuse within the confines of the law does fuck all or nothing about it. And so that stuck with me, flashing back to the shit that I saw and the dead bodies that I collected for the veterinarian to cut open in front of me and see their body parts coming out. Like that almost pales in comparison to what some of these farmers do to what Some of the workers did. Some of these, what do you call them? Where they sell the animals. I forget. I'm losing the name now. But like
Mm.
yeah, like people are complete monsters to these individuals. There's you I'm sure you and I could probably just drive out in the country right now and we'll see dumpsters full of these poor innocent beings. And so yeah, it was sort of like that was the key moment my last year there and telling my partner I just can't be a part of this and she suggested let's try vegetarian and I had some preconceived ideas about it, but I was willing to. And then, I did it. I didn't die. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just not eat eggs and I can have coffee black. Like I don't need milk. And yeah, after that, there was a time there where I felt a lot of guilt for a lot of years. It turned to drinking and uh, pretty crazy behavior. And eventually I found animal advocacy. So it took me a while to kind of get into advocacy. I had people telling me not to, don't share your story. There's going to be people after you, especially people I worked with, stuff like that. And, I had to tell, I just had to share. And, watching videos and seeing other activists and learning about activism really drew me out. And I've been surrounded by some incredible people. I'm sure you have as well. And it's been such a turnaround and a wonderful community. That being said, like I do wish, in a sense, that people could see what you and I have seen. Because we see the emphasis on what needs to be done and how to get the word out there and pushing the message. And sure, we don't want burnout, but like if that was our family, if that was someone we loved, we wouldn't leave. We would not allow it to happen. And so that's our inherent speciesism right there. But obviously, we have to be practical. Yeah, I think I kind of got lost in where I was going there. But yeah, it was
I
about,
guess.
yeah, 11
No.
years ago, I made the switch and, more so activism for about 6, 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Did your mum ever let on the atrocities inside, or did she keep it hidden? Did she ever have any thoughts of stopping, or how long did she do it for?
So she didn't work on the kill for long. She was the last employee of the new hires walking in the line. So they had filled up the other positions. And I know it's her story to tell, but I don't think she'll mind. She was the last employee, and the foreman said, have I got a job for you? And directed her to the kill floor. So they put her as the backup killer. So if the neck on the line was missed, she would have to cut their neck. And she recalls it vividly. And she says, each bird that went by and she had to cut the neck, she said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And even if you know about like how fast the animals grow, sometimes the animals don't grow at the pace that they've been genetically engineered to grow. So they'll actually grow to maybe a more normal size of what they should normally naturally be. So she thought they were babies, and she asked the foreman if she could take the babies, and she brought them home one night and put them in a closet, trying to hide them from my dad. So that's a whole story in itself. But yeah, we have similar dreams. We talk about things quite a bit. She's been close. She's been close to moving towards veganism. My stepdad's a bit of a off and on, says he might think about it, then he becomes a jerk about it. And so she kind of uses him as an excuse, but she's closer to becoming vegan, hopefully, or plant based at least. But yeah, she definitely has a similar dream. We have a similar dream. We're both in a crate, and it's being done to us. Yeah, I've number of flashbacks. I don't know about yourself, but I have them during the day. I see them often. I could see a garbage bag that draws me back to it. I see the signs. I see the trucks. Yeah, and so I was diagnosed with PTSD and bipolar disorder just in 2021 due to my time, obviously working where I did. Not surprisingly. Um, And I had help though. I got to say I had therapy, I had really good people around me to support me, to help me. Most of the workers will never have that sort of support. They'll have to suck it up, and if they don't, they'll get deported. So that's the choice that they have to make. Yeah.
See, that's another thing as well, mate. Because I heard this. I heard someone talk about the fact that people shouldn't be too harsh on the actual workers, and a lot of them are not in good positions, and they're doing it because it's the only thing they can do. When I was in this place, these people you would expect to see them in a shop or I don't know, just in alternative jobs. And when I asked these people, I said, like, how long are you staying for? Are you going to stay longer? Are you looking for new jobs?
Yeah.
And they were just like, they kind of like just saw it as a normal job, and they were like, no, like a job is a job kind of thing. And one bloke, he was really clever. I could tell he's got a background in computers. He comes from Africa. And I remember saying to him, like, you've been here 2 years, what are you doing? Kind of thing. And he was like, oh, work's work. And I just expected to not meet that caliber of person in there. I didn't expect that at all. I thought I'd meet people in there who couldn't wait to get out, and they've been struggling, or they're illegal, or or something like that. But I don't know. I think maybe it's just pot luck, isn't it? And maybe over in Canada, it was full of the opposite. It was full of people who needed to do it, and but it still makes you question, doesn't it? It still makes you question how
Yeah.
you can stand the place for so long without going to, I don't know, sweep, or sweep the roads, or do something like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Do something else. How can't you think of doing that, especially when you know? When you know there's a difference, right? I didn't know. I thought we had to eat animals, right? So a lot of people will say, well, no, they'll stick with the job or they'll stick with this type of work when they have clear evidence. There's, 10, 20 activists outside, all vegan, some vegan 30, 40 years. So there's no excuse for it. And I agree on that point. We obviously we empathize with maybe what people go through and their stories and their struggles, but there's no way anybody should ever have to go through um sorry, there's no way anybody should ever have to be put in that position in the first place. And secondly, it's not an excuse. I can understand if you had to flee a country and leave, and this was your only job option, but you got to be looking for something else immediately. And we can't, as abolitionists, we got to make sure that that's the case. I mean, there's a group called the Brave New Life Project out of Colorado, and they're trying to help workers find real jobs, so getting them tuned. The problem there is that the education and the language skills aren't there, so it's really difficult to find these people different types of work. But yeah, I would agree with you that, and I've seen it. Like I've seen people that really enjoy killing animals, and you can see it. It's scary. They're complete psycho, but they're in their element. They love it. They love what they're doing. It's fucking shocking. But there are people that are sort of caught in between, which they really need to start thinking about moving along, getting out of that. It's not a job, right? That is not a job for anybody. And so, yeah, I would agree with you on that. There's some people that just, I don't know if it's lazy. I don't know if it's loss of empathy. I don't know if it's because they're in shock. They could be in like shell shock. Maybe they're just so shocked about that they see they just can't think properly. Yeah, there's probably a variety of reasons for sure. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Another thing I noticed as well, I don't know about yourself, but everyone inside seemed to be. I say inside as though it's like a prison, but I would rather have been in prison
Mm.
for 4 weeks. You know what I mean? So I was inside. I was inside for a set amount of time, and one thing I noticed was everyone was like obsessed with food, and I know food is a popular topic anyway, so it doesn't matter where you go, people talk about food. But we'd be standing outside the kill floor, and there'd be people laughing and joking about what they're having for dinner. There was a lot of Filipinos inside, and they were talking about, when I mentioned Philippines, the first thing they said was, "Oh, you've been to Philippines? Have you tried the pork belly?" Um, and it's just like everyone I spoke to was the first thing they thought of was food, and there's just a link there, isn't it, between food addiction and and yeah, just people just it's like all, the first thing that springs to mind in all of places. The last thing I would ever speak of is food, and it was just strange for that to be a thing as well. It's almost like it's part of their addiction. Do you know what I mean? It's like the start of it, kind of thing. That kind of energy. But yeah, it's I think mine was very short lived compared to you, David. I think you
Yeah.
you would have seen a lot more than me. I was kind of in and out, and I said to my family not long ago, it has changed me. Just 4 weeks. Um, I can't say I think about it much now. It was a year ago now, but it has changed me. Have you made any improvements yourself? I know you said you got diagnosed with PTSD and stuff. Are you fully on the mend now, or
Yeah, I don't think that'll go away for me. I hope that'll, some of that will go away for you. So basically, it's just how I deal with it. Like I said, I have a lot of good support. I'll probably be in therapy for the rest of my life. But one of my forms of therapy is advocacy. So that's been a great outlet. So my therapist even recommended I do activism. I speak about my experience. I tell people about it. Then I can shed some past traumas that I've experienced through that. So yeah, it's not that like I can. There's a quick fix at all. Or a fix throughout time. It's just it is what it is. My therapist kind of put it to me in a really good way. Is um you know today's today, and everything that's happened in the past is over. No one else is suffering inside the past, so you got to think
mm,
about today and moving forward. So that
mm,
really helped me put things into context, because I think I was, in my ego a bit, feeling sorry for myself and feeling sorry about all the things that happen. And obviously, there's a place for that. But moving forward, I think for longevity and for the animals, and moving forward, I think the best thing for me is just to stay focused on advocacy. And that's the best thing that I can do for myself. So, yeah.
yeah, quality, yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you've got some help because there must be many people, aren't there, who keep it bottled up. And you said yourself earlier you've kept things uh, secret and not been able to speak of it. And
Yeah.
there must be quite. Do you think that that's quite common in people where there's problems that you don't know of, or have you heard more stories of people getting help, or because you must have had a lot of staff there? I bet you knew a lot of people. Um, what was kind of the story with them? The people that you work with and stuff, and
Yeah. So, yeah, a few things. So, often I'll get a comment or a like, or somebody sending me something, and they're still working in the industry. Which is, like you would think that's just so bizarre, right? But I think it's just they feel trapped, or maybe they don't know how to change, or maybe they just are overwhelmed with things. So yeah, I definitely will get that part of it. And then I've had, I don't know, countless conversations, obviously in the streets, but I've had people reach out to me. One gentleman in particular, he started working on kill floors when he was 16, just during the summer, and then eventually ultimately stayed working in that job. And he left, and he's been traumatized ever since. He's I think in his 40s or 50s. He showed up to one of our events, but he stood way back, and I was a little suspicious, because we've had an activist killed here. I was a little suspicious of him, so I walked up, and he kind of explained his story to me. He said he can't be around people, can't be near anybody, but he supports us from afar, and he doesn't want to do any activism, but he really appreciates everything that we're doing. So yeah, you get your mix on that as well. Yeah, it's a touching thing, right? I've seen so many different. Or I've heard so many different stories of change, right? Like you have hunters that have changed, you have ex-workers that have changed, and yeah, it's really inspiring when you see people that take ownership of that. Especially like I've seen some hunters, explain, this is what they were a part of. This is what they saw, and they fight the good fight, right? And it's so appreciated. I love to see that.
Yeah, yeah. I remember someone coming in the shop. I had a shop a few years ago, and a farmer came in or something, or a slaughter worker, and he said, I always ask questions and make conversation with the customers, and I said, why are you here basically? Because he looked like a farmer, and he said, I've been having second thoughts. I have to look him in the eye, and I've heard that a few times actually. Looking in the eyes, when I was in there, I was doing a little bit of, I was trying to get some info about from the security guards, because they see the trucks coming in and out, and I just made conversation, and I think in the end they was looking at me as if to say, why is he asking so many questions? But I'd just walk in and I'd be like, oh, do you ever see the cows and stuff? What do you think? And they were like, yeah, I try not to make eye contact with them. Um, Nearly everyone I spoke to said they're not happy with it. They try not to make eye contact. They're the ones that are signing in the farmers and writing the quantities down. They're the ones who are, getting them in and letting them out. And I just don't know how people can do that. You know what I mean? And let alone kill them. That's obviously the main thing. But to be part of it, even though you disagree with it,
Hmm.
I just can't.
Yeah, I think it's like a structured thing, right? So you have your farmers, you have your stockyards, and you have the slaughterhouse. So everything's so kind of removed from each other. And I think on purpose. So obviously, if people were like during the lockdowns and we had that, some farmers had to kill the animals, or not had to, they chose to, and that didn't sit well with them. They were freaking out. They were losing their minds because they actually had to do it themselves and see the consequences of that and probably be traumatized for it. And so we'll definitely have those situations where you're just you're befriending the animals, you're looking at it, sometimes you're giving them names, and then it's easy to forget because you get caught up in life, or you're busy, or the next group of animals come, so your mind's off of thinking of the animal that you named, or the animals that went off on the truck. You don't see anything beyond the truck. And I was on with Mel and Steve doing a live stream, and they asked me, do you see farmers inside slaughterhouses? And I never saw any farmers inside slaughterhouses. You have the one-offs maybe that, maybe worked in it, and then maybe they, saw bits and pieces of it. But but generally speaking, farmers do not go to the slaughterhouse. They don't see the process. You might have some farmers that do it on farm, and I would probably call them a little bit more towards the psychopathy kind of thing. But yeah, they just don't go, and there's a reason, there's a purpose behind that. Because if all farmers had to go down and watch this happen or do it themselves, we'd be living in a bit of a different world, I think.
Exactly that, mate. And I said the exact same thing about the office workers. Um, the work wasn't up to scratch, from what I remember, and they took us into the office, and I was trying to record it actually, and I managed to get a little bit of it. But she basically said, the agency have been in today. They saw a bit of blood here, a bit of blood there, a bit of blood there. Um, they nearly stopped us from killing today. We nearly couldn't kill, and she said that as though like it was like, oh, we nearly couldn't start the machinery today, or just something simple like that. And I was thinking, if she had to stand 30, 40 meters away and watch it happen, I don't think she actually knows. She's in the office, and like there is a camera in there, but they must get like the younger staff to kind of watch the cameras, from what I gathered. But I just don't think that anyone with a heart and a brain could be saying that if they were in the position of the slaughterman. I
Exactly.
can't see that being a thing.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. And so like when my job was so-called biosecurity, so you didn't have people coming in from all different spots onto the kill floor. Only certain people, personnel, would be allowed onto the kill floor. Maintenance, maybe, and the workers themselves. You wouldn't have front end office workers, like you said, maybe some CCT cameras, but like nobody's going to be watching that, right? And after a while it kind of looks like the same thing, almost like a cartoon, that it just doesn't there's no switch there. But definitely, of course, these office workers, they don't know. They've never been on a kill. They don't even know. They'll hear the pigs scream outside and they'll be told, "Oh, that's just how pigs react." Well, yeah, go to a sanctuary, hear a pig scream there. That's quite a bit of a different story. Yeah.
Mhm. It's I don't know if you want to answer if anyone has ask a few
Sure.
questions. Right, we've got Emmy, we've got Martin, Laura, CCL, Steve, SIS. If anyone's got any questions, please do ask. Um,
Yeah, feel free to
so
ask any
let's.
questions.
I'll ask you a positive one, David. You've been doing activism for quite a while, you
Yeah,
say?
about 7 years. I think 2006, sorry, 2018, 19, somewhere around there.
Quality. I bet you've had some really positive responses. Have you got anything in mind that's quite positive that you've, member of the public, or have you shared your story with anyone and it's changed their mind or anything like that?
Yeah, I've had a number of great conversations. I think there's a few that stick out. I'll go to maybe a coworker that I used to work with and I like telling this story because it just shows that just because we have the initial conversation and we're unsure, we go home at night and we're like, did I get it? Did they change? Do I know if they change? Will I ever know? Um, so I had a coworker who used to work on a dairy farm, and we went out for a meal one night for work, and they didn't have much in the way of vegan options. And this is when I was first starting out as an activist, and I didn't really push back too much because I was just sort of learning how to argue, not argue, but at least sway people maybe in my direction a bit. So she was kind of laughing at me and joking around with me, saying, "Oh, there's no vegan options here. Maybe you should try what I'm having." And I'm like, "No, I don't look at animals that way. I don't view them as commodities." And she's like, "They get treated well. I worked on a dairy farm. What are you talking about?" And so we kind of went at it a little bit, and that was it. Hadn't seen her for a while. I was asked to work at a stall for a veg fest in London, Ontario, and so I think it was for Anonymous for the Voiceless at that time, and Animal Save or something like that. And so I'm just standing there doing the thing, and she comes up to me and taps me on the shoulder. She comes to the Veg Fest, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm surprised to see you here." And she's like, "Can I talk to you?" She brought me down to where everybody was eating, and I think she spoke for about 45 minutes telling me all the things that she regrets about working in there, seeing what took place. She was ignorant towards me, and I didn't say anything. And by the end of it, she's like, "I can't believe I was so dumb and naive." And she said she appreciated everything I said. So it just goes to show, sometimes that initial ask, or that initial, you bring it up to people, we're just planting a seed. Maybe that seed grows, and I think that's something I really like about We the Free is we can see that people are coming to our website. We get some stats to show that hey, like maybe me sharing these videos is working, and maybe my outreach method is working, and so that's a positive. And so yeah, I've had a number of great conversations over the years. My goal is to amplify activists and try to get them to, really think about what they want their legacy to be, what their life goal is, as far as what we're going to accomplish. And we had some workshop. Hi, Chip, how are you doing? We had a workshop, and we were talking about, at the end of our time, what do we want to say in our last few breaths, or what do we want to be thinking about? Was it that colossal dent that we put in animal agriculture, the most disgusting industry ever known to man? Like, is that what it's going to be, and how are we going to make that happen? So yeah, I just hope that people, by sharing, your story, by sharing mine, and I know you're online a lot, and you're doing, the food, and you're showing the outreach, and it's terrific. This is what we need. We need more people doing exactly this. Is just getting out there and sharing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if people got that, but yeah, just what our legacy is going to be at the end of the day. How can we support activists if if we're stuck in the 9 to 5? Like I was speaking to some activists today that they're going to have to go back to work, and they don't want to go back to work, but they're so great out on the streets, and it's like how aren't we funding that? How don't we have 1,000 of us out in the streets today? Maybe sometimes it doesn't work out. Maybe that activist isn't in it for the right reasons, but I would say the majority are. The majority of
Mm,
people that want to become full-time activists put in the time, the dedication. We need to make it happen. And so that's part of something I'm looking at trying to do as I move forward as an advocate myself. Yeah.
yeah. So you're looking at the greater good rather than your own personal efforts. It's good, mate. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the funding is a problem, isn't it? We need some billionaires. Surely there's some vegan billionaires somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that please?
Well, I
Any
mean, there are going to be some people out there that have money that can help out. They just got to see that it's worth it and that there's value there. And so if we have enough of us that can show that it's worth it and there's enough value there, maybe we get that other billionaire, maybe another billionaire. It's definitely needed. It's definitely um one of the things I think we should be strategizing around. I know often we do speak a lot to our echo chamber, which is needed. We need to speak to our friends, our people. We need to build that community and support each other. But also too, I think in our toolbox we need to strategize on how we're going to fund the movement moving forward, how we can expand and expedite it and grow it. I think that's really an emphasis that we can all kind of do and look into and maybe think of creative ways of doing it. Yeah.
yeah, quality. Chip size, I don't know if that'll make them want to fund us. Absolutely not, because nobody likes to lose a debate, and unfortunately, if you do debate Chip, you're not going to win. So maybe not, mate. Now, I
I
just
think
like to
if
say, well,
I
go on,
think
mate.
if Chip just turns on the charm, and what's that game we played, Chip Mafia? If you use that voice that you used in the game Mafia that we played, I think you'll be able to win a billionaire over.
Chip came up with the best ever crop death reply not long ago. If I remember what it was, Chip will correct me, but it's something like if a system is if a system involves exploitation and death, we want to improve it, and if a industry is inherently reliant on evil and death, we abolish it. And that sums up the anti-vegan brigade. That finishes their old crop death argument. I think that's probably one of the best ones I've heard. So well
Yeah.
done, Chip.
Yeah, I've heard that before, and I've heard people say that Chip did an excellent job with that. And I would say, look, like Chip does these streams. He does the live stream debates out in the streets, and he's getting thousands of views. And I know it might be intimidating, and people might think they have to be perfect or something like that, but it's not as hard as you think. If somebody like myself can come as far as I've come and be able to even sit on a live stream right now. I know a lot of you out there that are just, incredible people that are very great voices. I just encourage you just to try it out, just to see, a few times how that feels. You'd be surprised how many people might take to what you say. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's what do you make of? Because my mate Calvin did a poll the other day about people wanting to step out and do something, and he was emphasising the infighting and certain comments from certain people who like to correct others and things like that. What's your opinion on that? Because I've heard of a lot of people are getting put off by a certain group um, who are correcting them and trying to tell them what to do regarding certain methods. and I think that's a problem. I think there's a lot of people who are looking and going, I don't want any scrutiny. Do you know what I mean? I just want to get out and do what I want to do. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
came across anyone like that.
Yeah, I have. And, I actually, maybe I'll tell the story. I was on a live
Mhm.
stream and I had one of a certain person, sorry, uh, pretend to be a non vegan. And they kept me on for a while. And I eventually found out who this person was. And so they trolled me for an hour, something like that, spending my valuable time when I'm trying to convince somebody to maybe look at things in a different way, maybe actually change their hearts and minds. So they wasted a lot of my time, and so I kind of feel like maybe I'm not partly responsible, but I think I should have been more of a voice when this was happening initially. I just thought it would blow over just like a lot of other things blow over. I think we have non-vegans out there. We have a lot of non-vegans out there. I'm not going to waste my time or give any of that any credence. Maybe I'll joke around and maybe sometimes I will say something back, but we have non vegans out there. Why are we wasting our time with people that want to change things and want to get active? If somebody believes in your
Idolatry, that man.
opinion, if somebody wants to change their mind, there's ways we can go about it, but to continuously say the same thing over and over, show us the way, and I'll gladly do it. If you show me the statistics and you show me this is working and this is the ultimate way to make people change, absolutely I'll jump on board. But until then, let's not waste our time on vegans or people just learning how to be active in the streets. Give them some leeway, give them some respect. If they ask for, some sort of help or whatnot, like Chip asks for help all the time. I wouldn't ask for that much help because I would get annoyed, but Chip consistently asks for it, and that's because he's asking for it. If people are a little off or if they're saying the wrong word, maybe look at the context, look at the entirety of it. We don't want to be looked at as a cult either. I think we got to be open minded to people. And I do believe that something like, 80%, I don't know what it is, but I think we'll gather people more in if we're, showing them a little bit more kindness than, or maybe leaving them to a conversation, letting them leave feeling empowered more than kind of shitting on them. But that's not for everyone, right? Obviously we can judge that, and I think a lot of us in the streets know how to judge that. I know, like, I've seen people where they tell people off, and probably it was right to do it in time, or maybe it wasn't right, but look, there's non-vegans. I have so little time, so little bandwidth. I need to convince somebody to become vegan. I need to convince someone to become an activist.
Mm. Yeah, very well said, mate. Very well said. Um, yeah, it's just not productive, is it, to have a pop at anyone? And I can see why it would put a lot of people off. And according to my mate Cal, his poll, it is doing just that. Do you know what I mean? It's not even a case of maybe; it is doing that. So, nah, it's got to stop. And it's already like you say, it's already an uphill battle. So let's not steepen the hill anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
going
I
to
mean,
no.
so for every vegan we have, how many are active? We're what, a percentage of a percentage, and so we need all of us. And again, it's the idea that we don't know 100% what's going to work. I don't even think we're going to know until the day it changes. And so, rather than waste time on people that may have not said a word properly, or maybe didn't come to the cult correctly. Let us focus on empowering each other, building community, helping each other, and DMs. Like, if I had an issue with somebody, like there was an activist, so I was doing plant-based treaty stuff. And the activist said, I don't care. Like, I really don't care about plant-based treaty. I think it's a waste of time. I think we need to be doing something else. Did he go online and say, "Oh, blah blah blah"? No, we had a respectful conversation. I share their stories all the time. Why? Because we see the importance of communication, calling in rather than calling out, and working together. And that's all we need to do, I think, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
simple as that. And do you know what? My brother turned vegan because he didn't like slime. He didn't like the gristle on his meat. Do the animals care of the reason that my brother turned vegan? Eventually, it's. Do you know what I mean? And that's the most ridiculous example as well. So it just goes to show.
Exactly.
Um, these people being overly pedantic and critical are not helping the animals. Absolutely, Chip. And hello to VPM and welcome. I don't know if anyone's got any questions for David. I don't want to. I'm a little bit scared to ask too much detail, mate, regarding the actual slaughterhouse experience because obviously it's not very nice to kind of go back. But yeah, I think if anyone else has got any questions,
Yeah,
um,
I'm open to sharing. Whatever people want to hear. Usually, with a vegan crowd, I'm more. I guess you could say, like, I don't want to traumatize as much. I'm not saying I want to traumatize non-vegans, but them learning about the experiences is probably a good thing. So it depends on the crowd here. It looks like there are some vegans, but there's obviously probably some non-vegans here. So
yeah. What's your plans for the future, David? Have you got anything lined up? I know that you said you're going to start looking into you know getting the ball rolling with some funding maybe and helping other people out. But have you got any other plans regarding yourself and activism or?
yeah, absolutely. So I don't know if I mentioned before, but I'm an ambassador for We the Free. And
Oh yeah,
so I volunteer my time to help expand and grow. So I'm going to be headed to Los Angeles if anybody's in that area for the AVA. I forget what it's called exactly. I should know this. The AVA Summit, so Animal and Vegan Advocacy Summit. So we'll be setting up a stall there, speaking with a lot of people, in different areas of advocacy, and we'll be doing a pop up, a few 3-minute movie challenges around LA and then also near San Francisco, hopefully, where the Animal Liberation Conference is going to be held. So hopefully, I can bump shoulders with people and maybe, hopefully, get people interested in creating a We the Free team. If you're interested, activism.wtf. You can go to the join part and get active. Join us. It's a wonderful community. I encourage everyone, if you're not entirely sold by We the Free, but you want to still learn, or you want to understand how to maybe dismantle some conversations with family, friends, we do incredible online training. It's over Zoom. It's free. We do it monthly, and we do some other types of training on there as well. It's really great. It's a wonderful community. I've learned a lot. I did a lot of activism with Jen, one of the directors, and also some of the other directors as well, and some of the other teammates there. So yeah, just looking to grow. We've had like a massive amount of views to our channel as well, with some other people sharing our content. So yeah, definitely, that's what I'll be working on. I might go hit up the Convergence in New York as well. So there's with Animal Activism Collective, they do convergences a few times a year. So basically, they're just going with megaphones and they're trying to change the game as far as sometimes it's fur, sometimes it's foie gras. And so, yeah, it doesn't stop. It just depends on where I am and what time and what I'm working on. But yeah, so hopefully I'll be back for VCO as well, though. So, yeah,
Always busy, mate, by the sounds of it. And it would be good to meet you in June, I think it is, or July, if you're around. So, um, yeah, my first time last year, mate. I'm looking forward to this one. So it'd be good to meet up. Chip Guy has said, Dave, what, in your opinion, to a vegan person who's a bit shy to do activism or doesn't know how to speak up, etc., what would you recommend they do if they want to do more?
great, great question, Chip. And I think as someone who is a little bit intimidated or a little bit fearful of getting active, I would say just open up either an account through yourself, or you can make up an account on Instagram, on TikTok, Twitter, or whatever it's called now. You know, open up an account, start sharing videos. If you want to learn a little bit more on the creative side, how to do that, feel free to reach out to me or the We the Free team. We have some people that really know how to get a lot of views, and that's a huge factor there. If we can get a lot of views watching these videos, sending them back to We the Free, get them in the newsletter, maybe get them active. That's just one way of potentially doing it. Also, with We the Free, it's not mandatory that you speak with somebody if you're shy. We have a number of roles and we have a number of different types of advocacy you can do. So, for example, if you want to hold a sign, or if you want to give out, sometimes we give out prizes to watch the movie. If you want to set up the TVs, or if you want to volunteer some time working on things like sort of the back end or video or media, we do have voluntary positions. We might have internships soon. So there's just a wide variety, a wide net, and just if you're not into doing like sort of the street advocacy and you're shy, there's plenty of ways. You know, music, art. You know, become an expert at what you're good at. That's another way to do it as well.
I've always said stickers as well. If you're not outspoken, get a load of stickers and start slapping them around
Hundred
everywhere. Do you know what
percent.
I mean? Like just whack them around, because you do see them around, and it does make people think. It could be the tipping point. Just by seeing one "not your mom, not your milk" sticker on a lamppost. Do you know what I mean? I think
Yes.
Laura's trying to imply that you should change your username, David. I don't know what you think of that.
I don't know. Laura and I kind of have a little feud going on right now. Um, I think she thinks I'm not 40 anymore, but I'm still 40. I've been 40 for about, well, actually I won't say. Um yeah, no, it's going to change. It's going to change, Laura. Don't you worry. I think she's just mad cuz I haven't seen her since I've been in the UK yet. So, and Neil, yes, Calgary, you guys are doing great stuff out there. I love to see that you guys are doing a lot of events. I really appreciate that, Neil, for sure.
And maybe link him up with the people who can maybe get a better reach. Fair Stickers on Etsy has amazing activism stickers. Is that like a page? Is it? Um, yeah, it's. I think it's a great way.
Yeah, it's
And it's
so
legal.
easy, right?
I'm sure it's legal, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah, we'll be all right. Get your stickers out.
yeah, get your stickers out. It's really, it's not that difficult. You can do chalking. There's so many different ways. Vegan Pixie Warrior. If you go to her channel, she has a bunch of different uh, styles of activism you can do. Just a bunch of different things. So I'd encourage you to go over there. Where do we? Where can we follow Dave? Oh, you want to follow me, Chip? I thought you already followed me.
That's
Um,
disrespect. What's he playing at?
yeah, so obviously you guys see here I'm the 40-year-old vegan, and David Magna on Facebook, and I might get back to YouTube. I'm on TikTok as well. I've been so much more focused on just the street side of things, but I feel like obviously it's really important to get back on social media. So I think I want to do that coming up.
Quality. Well, it's been great to speak to you, Dave. It is Dave, isn't it? Not David. Is that too formal?
I've been called worse,
Whatever.
especially by
Dave.
Laura. Especially by Laura.
Laura. She's always got something to say, Laura, hasn't she? Nah, cheers, Dave. It's been great, and thank you. And I'm glad that you're on the mend. And yeah, I hope it's working. Whatever therapy is still going on. And yeah, like you said, the past is the past now, so there's no point dwelling on it. It's
Yeah,
you could actually turn it into a positive and think, well, if it wasn't for you doing that, someone else would have done it anyway. But also, you doing that has then changed the dairy farmer. It's changed hundreds of people, I'm sure, in different ways. So yeah, it's all positive, man.
Yeah, it's been great to be on here, and honestly, really appreciate all the work you've been doing. I tune into your videos, and like you've seen it firsthand. How awful it is and how terrible it is, and I encourage everyone just to step out their comfort zone just a little bit, even if it's a little bit. And if you can't, there's advocates that need it. They need the support. Maybe financially, you can donate a few bucks, something like that. That would be awesome to help out. So yeah,
Mhm. Thank you, Chip. I don't think they are, but other people seem to, so I'll keep doing it. Thank you, Martin, Neil, and Kerry, and of course Laura. And yeah, thank you, Dave, and hopefully see you in the summer.
yes, absolutely, and I appreciate everyone else for being on the stream as well.
Quality. Thank you, man.